Welcome back to the Village Build series. In this series, we're going to be building 5 themed houses and a town hall to make a village. You can see I've already built 3 houses. Today we'll be building the 4th right here in between these pre-built docks. If you want to see how I built these really cool docks, check out part 1 of the Village Build series. But without further ado, let's get right into it. Plan and land, the most important part of any build project. Now for this project, you can see that the land was already pretty much ready, but then comes the plan. You can see on the left side, I've got a plan for a really cool kind of figure 8 cultivated field. On the right side here in the front still, we've got 2 octagons, which I've just placed to signify that there will be 2 more nice size features in the garden. And then of course in the back, we have the blueprint for the house. Alright, so for the blueprint, we have a 19 by 6 meter rectangle for the main house. In the back of the blueprint, we have a 4 by 6 meter rectangle for the chimney. And in the front of the blueprint, we have a 4 by 7 meter rectangle for the front porch. And then also we have 4 additions to the blueprint, which are not exact. So we have an additional walkway attached to the front porch. We have alcoves on either side of the building. And then also we have a covered log area in the back. And then for the heights of the building, we have 6 meters tall for the main building, 12 meters tall for the chimney in the back, and 3 meters tall for the front porch. Basic walls and floors. So first things first, I decided to add a few stone pieces in front of the fireplace. Next, I decided to place my wooden floors, which I figured it'd be cool to alternate each of the pieces to add a little bit of character. And of course, I filled in the front porch area at the same time. Next, I moved on to the basic walls. You can see me placing just regular wooden walls here, nothing special at the moment. Next, I decided to use the dark wood doors for the front entrance. And then I decided to fill in the wall above the front entrance. You can see I'm using 45-degree angle walls into 26-degree angle walls. The reason I did this is because the roof section that sticks out, all I'm doing is matching the angle on that. We'll talk more about that roof section later on though. Now I'm going to show you the chimney. You can see the chimney. All I'm doing here is I am bricklaying the stones. And then to finish it up, I am just taking the chimney at the top and making it a little more narrow to basically just seem a little bit more realistic. Next, we're going to be doing the primary roof. First things first, I wanted to do the harder part, which is still really easy, and that's the part that sticks out over the front porch. You can see here I started with a 26-degree angle roof piece into 45 into 26. So we have a nice curve going up the roof. Now what we've got to deal with is this gap right here. You can see if I just place a regular panel onto it, we've got a roof piece which is sticking way out of the beam. You don't want that. So what we're going to do here is we're going to place some snapping points into our roof panels by just using regular wooden beams. So once we place those in, you can see now we've got more snapping points and we can actually overlap our roof panels really easily, and we can fill in most of the gap there at the top. What you want to do is free place extra beams onto the top of your roof, filling in that gap. Same angled beams as the beams that we've already used on the front trimming of the roof. And you can see they cover up that hole really nicely, and they also add a really nice detail layer to the top of the roof. And then I finished up this section of the roof by adding on the final angled beams, and then by also adding, a few extra details with just some regular wooden beams. And now we can move on to the main roof. So first things first, I want to add a little 1 meter frame sticking out from the walls of the original blueprint. The reason why I do this is so that the roof will actually be sticking 1 meter out from the body of the house, which looks, in my opinion, realistic, but also just overall looks a little bit better. Next, I'm just building the basic shape of the roof, so we're just going to be going from 45-degree angle roof pieces into 26-degree angle roof pieces. Alright, now it's time to connect up the 2 bits of roof that we have built. You can see, first of all, I used just some regular beams, and then of course I am using the 26-degree angle roof corners. The reason why I'm doing that is, of course, because the top of the roof, both roof sections that are meeting, are also 26 degrees. You can see now I'm filling in the gaps, and then once I fill in these gaps, we're going to be moving down to the bottom where we started off with 45-degree angle roof pieces. So what do? We switch, of course, to the 45-degree angle roof corner. Now that both roof structures are built and connected, we can add some extra details to the main roof. So you can see I'm just adding in some nice beams which match the angles of the roof tiles. And then I finish it up by adding in some nice lines going across the roof. You can see I left this part of the roof right here in the middle kind of a little bit open just to keep the design very symmetrical. Alright, now the roof is on, but we've got some large holes in the walls. So let's fill them in. You can see I'm using 45-degree angle walls to do this, leaving a nice diamond in the middle, but I forgot to put the cage wall in. So you can see I'm destroying these so that I could put in the large cage wall piece. And then we're going to actually fill in the gap in the top with these small cage wall pieces, and then we're going to finish up the entire roof, or this side of the roof at least, with some nice trimming. We're going to be using the same angled beams that are already on the wall, and we're just free placing them just a little bit lower than the existing beams. And then of course I'm going to do the exact same thing on the other side. To finish up the roof, we will be adding one final detail. We're going to be using some nice 1-meter beams on the top, and then in between those, we're going to be putting in these small cage wall pieces. Next, we're going to be doing the secondary roofs. So you can see, first of all, I'm adding a 1-meter frame over the top of the chimney. Then on top of that, we're adding 26-degree angle roof pieces. Then on the sides of those, we're adding 26-degree angle beams, and then 26-degree angle beams. That is that for the peak of the roof. Now we're going to fill in the gaps that were created with some nice smaller cage wall pieces. And then what we're going to do is actually just go ahead and finish up the chimney with some nice designs on the walls. You know, all of the different chimneys here in the village, I've added a different unique design. For this one, I wanted to keep it simple and just add a nice little detailed trim around the whole thing. Alright, so for the next part of the secondary roof, we're going to be doing the roof for the little alcoves on the ends of the house. So first of all, you can see I had to finally decide the actual measurements for this. So all I did really is I went from 1 meter to 2 meters sticking out from the house. And then I had to figure out how I wanted to do the roof. And so for this, you can see I'm kind of messing around with some designs. I wanted the roof panels to be sticking out from the sides. So what I did to do this is I actually free placed a 26-degree angle roof peak right to where I knew that my 45-degree angle roof tiles would be sticking out from the edge. So check this out. You can see once I place this, now they're sticking out really far on the sides, which I think looks really nice. Alright, so now we've got the shape of the roof. Now we need to add the details. First things first, you can see I'm just adding some beams onto the end of each of the roof pieces. Next, I'm going to be adding on the trimming. Always got to add trimming to the roofs in Valheim. They are so important. It makes them just look so much better if you cap off your roof with a nice trim. And it's really quick and easy too. Now you can see I'm just adding on the 45-degree angled wall pieces, and then of course we're adding the trim onto the trim, which is, I also think, always necessary for Valheim builds. Next, we're moving inside a little bit where I'm just going to be kind of repairing the wall here, which I broke up to make the little alcove here. And then, you know, we're already doing the walls. We might as well just add on a little bit of a wall shape here on the alcove. You know, just a very low wall, nothing special, and then a floor. Now, the reason why I'm keeping this wall low at this time is because I know I want some really large windows in these alcoves. So you can see I'm using the same half wall on the top, just leaving a lot of room here for windows later on. And then, of course, I went to the opposite side and I built the same roof and little alcove over here. And then I wanted to add on the roof to the firewood storage area. So first things first, you can see I'm building 3 meters up for this little area. I wanted enough room in there to kind of feel like you could move around and that you could stack a bunch of wood, but not too much room too, of course. You know, I didn't want it to be too tall. Then you can see I'm just adding a nice little handrail going around the sides. I even brought that handrail around to the front just because I thought it would look kind of good. And then we're going to go ahead and we're going to add the roof onto this structure now. This roof is very simple. We're just going to be adding on 26-degree angle roof beams, which angle into the wall of the house. And then, of course, we're going to finish it up with some nice roof trimming like we always do, and a few extra little lines going across the roof. Alright, so we are going to make a little bit of a change to the roof later on, but for the most part, we're going to be doing the final bit of roofing right here. So I want to explain how I formed this semicircle. If you look at the ground, you can see that this circle here, or half a circle, semicircle, is formed by using 2-meter beams into 1-meter beams, and they're going to alternate all the way around. And what's cool about this is that typically when you're building, if you want to make a semicircle, you'll use either all 1-meter beams or all 2-meter beams, but I needed a size in between. So that's why I alternated 2-meter and 1-meter beams in the same semicircle. The top of this semicircle where the roof will be placed onto is actually a little bit different. Up here at the top, we don't need to make a really nice shaped semicircle. We need to actually form it to where the roof can be placed onto it. So you can see I only used 2-meter beams because the roof tiles themselves are 2 meters wide. Let me show you what I'm talking about. Alright, so now you can see how easy it is to roof this thing. All I have to do is place my roof tiles directly into my 2 meters or more sections that I have set up here on the top. And then after that, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go use more of these 26-degree angle roof pieces on the sides on the little like extended hallways onto the front porch. And then after that, what we're going to want to do is go ahead and add our trimming, which we always add. We're just going to add lines throughout the roof and also lines on the edge of the roof. The only spot that is tricky is here in the middle where we have 2 beams kind of not perfectly meeting up. So you're going to see that I'm actually just going to end up placing 1 beam on both of them. Now what we're going to do is build on the final part of the roof for this area, which is actually a walkout deck. Pretty cool. You can see I'm just building it directly into these 26-degree angle roof pieces. I've added some floors and some angled beams, and now I'm just filling in the gaps with some more floors. Next, we're adding a hand railing. You can see once again here in the front, we're dealing with having beams that don't perfectly meet up. So the way that I fix this is I just kind of place 2 there. And then you can see I'm just continuing the railing all the way around, just placing a 1-meter pole every 1 meter. And then after that, I am connecting up the deck to the roof with just more of the standard wooden poles. And then you can see I'm connecting these new poles with the same angled beams that I used on the roof above to keep that same angle coming down. And then you can see right here up on the top of this, I'm just kind of connecting it up to the roof. Once again, we've got 2 beams that don't perfectly meet, so we're kind of just placing 2 things there instead of 1. And then I'm finishing up this whole deck area by adding on some nice angled beams in the back. Okay, now it's time to add some final details and changes to this new area. First of all, I'm going to be filling in some spots that I missed with some angled beams. Next, I am adding just a quick little line around the base of the deck to separate it a little bit better from the roof. And the last change that I'm making is right here where you can see I had those 2 beams placed. I decided to break them and kind of angle them both outwards. I think it just looked much better. Also, you can see I went to the top up here and I did the same thing, but it didn't quite work the same, but I decided to leave it in just to match the other one below. Alright, so walls, where do we begin? Well, first things first, we've got a large blank area here on the front of the house, which would be perfect for a window. So you want to bust a hole in the wall, and then what I'm doing here is I'm placing some nice 1 by 1 meter floors onto the base of the window. Now what we're going to do is frame it out, And then we're going to actually put another frame on top of that frame. What this is going to do is it's going to bring the whole window outwards, creating some shadows, adding some depth, and making this window more of a very obvious feature here on the wall. Once we've got that second frame in, what you want to do is you want to go ahead and add on your window itself. I decided not to use crystal in this build. Instead, I decided just to go with the iron cage pieces. You can see I'm filling it in here. And after that, we're going to add a 26-degree angle X on the top of the window, and then we're going to finish it up by adding a half wall and some more framing down at the bottom. Alright, so for the most part, the window is looking good. We're going to come back and make a few changes in a minute, but for now, let's move on to the next thing. So for the next thing, I wanted to add a second layer or a detail layer onto my wooden wall. This is very easy. All you have to do is go to your corners and free place poles right onto the existing corner poles. Just line them up real nice, place them all the way to the roof. You can see I'm even placing them into the ground here. And what this is going to do is it's going to give you room to do a detail layer out front of your actual wall. You want to do that on all the corners of your build, and then you also want to do it on the doorways of your build. You can see I'm doing it around the dark wood door. Once you've got all the corners and the doorways done, you can start to fill in your design layer or your second layer. Personally, I like to fill in my design layer with just short half walls, and then I like to take those half walls and frame them out with beams on the top and on the bottom. Next, I went to the inside of the build and I copied the same type of window on the inside, just exact same design. And then after that, you can see I filled in these corners with some nice regular wooden poles and got ready to actually build this alcove. Now for this alcove, you're going to see I'm starting with the same type of thing I did for the other window with the 1x1 meter floors on the bottom. I'm going to do that all the way around. And then I'm also going to place cage walls all the way around. Next, I placed a second layer onto this alcove, just like we did on the walls of the house, by free placing poles onto the existing corner poles. But with this second layer, we're actually going to go across horizontally as well, not just vertically. So you can see I placed a nice little lip over the top of the window here, and then up above that, we're going to place another line going across, and then we're going to connect these lines with a couple of 1 meter tall poles. Alright, so now that feature is done. It's now time to come over to this side of the house and just copy the same thing over here. Alright, so now we're going to make a few changes to the window. You can see on the top, we used to have a third layer of cage wall here, but I decided to put a little half wall there instead. I put a little 2 meter beam going across at the bottom, and then I came inside and, where we used to have the cage wall, I went ahead and filled that in with walls on the inside as well. Now the next thing that we're going to have to do is we're going to have to actually build a third layer of the window on the outside. Because we added on the second layer of the wall, it kind of made it to where the window wasn't as visible. So I wanted to go ahead and just bring out the window once again, another layer outwards, just so it would be more obvious on the front of the build. Okay, just a few more things now and we're done with the walls. First of all, I had a large open space here in the back, so I went ahead and I added on the exact same window from the front here in the back. You can see I'm checking the design to make sure I get it right. And next, I went ahead and I added the door onto the deck over the front porch. And finally, I finished up the walls section of the video by adding just a 1x1 meter little railing around the front porch. Alright, so now I'm going to show you guys the bridges and the garden. Now I'd love to show you guys in my normal format everything that I did in the garden, but it took me like 4 or 5 hours doing all this, and I placed a lot of small little some very specific things, so I think it'll be easier just to take you guys on a little walk through everything. So first of all, we've got some bridges over here. This is a village, so of course we're going to connect it all up with roads and bridges and things like that. We've got a nice little flat bridge over here, which is kind of more simple over just a small amount of water. And then over here we have like the full arching bridge over kind of the whole river. You can see also a little detail that I think is worth mentioning. I spawned a bush onto this rock, and the bush will settle below the rock down to where the soil is, and it kind of creates this little tiny bush that sticks out the top, and it looks like a little island out here on the water. I love that. So next, I want to show you guys a little shot from up above of the garden so you can see it a little better. We've got really three main features here. We've got the figure 8 cultivated garden, we have the pagoda beekeeper area, and then also we have the berry garden. I'll take you guys on a little walk through now. First of all, the figure 8 cultivated area. If you're wondering how I did this, it all comes down to the floor pieces on the outside. I did this in part 1 of the village build series. Each time I place a floor panel, I just rotate it once, and then I place another one, rotate it once, place another one, rotate it once, and you can make this figure 8 shape. You can see where all the floor pieces intersect. You get a lot of intersections, and it just creates kind of a crazy wall going around the garden, which I love. Here in the center, I decided to connect it up with some gates. Now we can take a little walk around this way. I'll take you guys down this way in just a moment, but first I want to go over here and show you this spot right here. This right here came to me from looking at some pictures of like Japanese Zen garden type of things. You get these really cool like curvy walkways. You get all these different little sections that are like perfectly sectioned out, and so that was kind of what I was trying to emulate here in this part of the garden. We've got rocks here, we've got live features, and then you can see I even decorated this front porch area to kind of seem like it was an area that is really worked in. Very used. I don't know why I put money up here. I just thought it would be kind of cool. But down here, I put a little like workstation with some stools that you could sit down. And, I just thought the Queen's Jam things looked like things that had honey in them. So I put a couple of those around as well. And now I'll take you guys around this way. First of all, you can see the berry garden looking pretty cool. Little wood shutter entrance. And then we've got the tall cage wall pieces to kind of seem like maybe the vines could grow up them. And then as we come around this way, we've got the pagoda with the beekeeper area. Now initially I wanted to put a bunch of flowers in here for the bees, but there wasn't really enough room, so I just kind of built this pagoda and just kind of have it as like a little kind of a decoration, and this is like the honorary flower, I don't know, whatever you want to call it. Here we've got a cultivator on an item stand, and then as I go around this way, you can see a few more final details. We've got a retaining wall here to seem like it's holding up the soil, and then we've also, got a little wall around the berry garden. Alright, random addition to the roof way after the roof section. My bad. I figured we could add a little bit of a feature here, so I decided to add a roof peak over this window. You can see I did 26-degree beams and then 45-degree beams. We'll actually end up getting rid of the 26-degree beams, and you might already know why. It's because of this right here. You can see I'm coming in with corner pieces. Well, the roof behind this peak is 45-degree angles. So if we want to use corner pieces, then this peak has to also be 45-degree angles. Now you can see I put in some 45-degree angle walls and I cleaned up the space a little bit. And now I'm trying to find out where I can put a nice decoration on the wall. I can't break out those new 45-degree angle walls that I put in, but I can break out right below it. So that's what I decided to do. Here I just put in some nice cage walls just for a little bit of an opening here. Alright, now I'm going to finish up this nice little extra feature on the wall by adding a 26-degree angle X above it. And then we're going to head up to the top of the peak where we're going to add a nice just regular wood line connecting all of the roof tiles. And then on top of that, we're going to put the same type of cage wall design as we used on the main roof, just to kind of match up with the main roof a little bit. And then finally, we are going to take this exact roof peak design and we're going to bring it around to the back and put it right here. Alright, that is that for the video. If you guys want to stick around for like 10 more seconds, you can check out some final cinematic shots of the whole thing. Hope you enjoyed it. If you did, maybe leave a like, maybe subscribe. More coming soon, and of course, as always, have a good one.